Alright, this is the first video. This is Cold War 1A. Origins of how everyone in the comic book world is. We want an origin story, right? And so this is our origin story of a 50-year, almost 50-year long war and what it entailed. A lot of things, okay? First off, we have to talk about this. Communism versus capitalism, aka democracy. Now, the father of communism is Karl Marx. Father of capitalism is Adam Smith. So let's just go down here. Karl Marx is German. He's an accountant, a historian, etc. He wrote two books, Das Kapital and the Communist Manifesto. So, under communism, what is it? Economic system is developed in response of the abuses of the Industrial Revolution. In other words, we're not going to use a money system. It's based on socialism, so there's no money. Everyone is basically given what they need according to their needs. There's no private property. Everybody owns everything. It's just given, again, doled out. This is the idea of socialism. Public ownership, factors of production, land, labor, etc. Collective ownership. Everyone owns everything. Everyone has everything in common, hence communism. However, there are other little things they don't believe in. Under communism, there's no religion. They feel that that's a waste of time, and things like that. On the other hand, capitalism. Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations. Capitalism is an economic system that helped bring on the Industrial Revolution. This is private ownerships. Factory production can be owned based on the idea of laissez-faire, remember, hands-off, and the invisible hand, meaning that society and the production is guided by this force. Free market economies let people do as they wish. So, that is the heart of the Cold War. That's what this is about. Politics. And I know that seems silly, but this is what happens. This is what Korea is about. This is what Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs, Vietnam, the fall of the Berlin Wall is all about this. These two things do not mesh. So that's what the Cold War is basically about. Now, I love this political cartoon, and I put it in your packet there. Stalin and Truman, and they're playing chess. If you understand this, the Cold War will be much, much easier to understand. It's a game of chess. If we did something, they're going to make a move to counter our move, and we're going to have a move to counter their move, and so on and forth. And that's what it's all about. It's a game of chess. One-upmanship. Anything you can do, I can do better. That mentality. Okay? Now, the leader of the communists at this time is Joseph Stalin. We talked about him before with the Soviet Union. But he's really big here because when Germany falls, he declares everybody who is in Eastern Europe, close to him, he declares them communist through a part called communization. We call this the Eastern European Bloc, now without a K. And that just means a group of countries. And if you can tell, the red there is the Soviet Union. The pink, kind of next to it, is that Eastern Bloc. And can you tell what has happened to Europe? He's basically cut off Europe from him. He's created a buffer zone. And this frightened a lot of people because he talks about self-determination, right? And we can't let this happen. But remember, communism, we talked about in the Comintern, their whole goal was to spread and to take over. It's all there. It's all counteracting. Now, the Eastern Bloc, these countries of Poland, Czechoslovakia, etc., are considered satellite nations. Now, a satellite nation were controlled by the Soviet Union. They had their own governments, but they're still heavily influenced by the Soviet Union. And we talked about the Eastern Bloc. So they did have their own government, but they also had the Soviet Army there. And we'll see what happens when they try to leave and all that different chaotic things, okay? Another term. Now, Winston Churchill, upon seeing this happen, came to Missouri, and he gave a speech in which he said a specter has descended upon Europe. It's from point A to point B, I can't remember exactly. And he says, an iron curtain has descended upon Europe. This. Now, was there a real iron curtain? No, it's a figurative. But he's basically saying, and we saw that on the map, Stalin has created this buffer zone between the democratic West and the Soviet East. And the battle lines have been drawn again. And so how are we going to get around this? And he's asking at this point the United States, and in particular Congress, to do something about Stalin. Now, we're not going to get involved in a war. We don't want that. But we do go to the drawing board and come back with some things. Truman's going to come up with some things, and that's going to be the subject of the second video, 1B.